Hello, makadi yenyu maskwera sei cholenjani. Welcome to Tete Rasta. I kind of got a hint this morning from one of my friends, or morning, afternoon, whatever it was, who said, you've been making some commentaries on your wall about the USA elections. So I decided that I will say a few words about it. It's been quite an eventful few days. So I just wait for a few people to come on stream and then we can have a chat. I can appreciate it's so busy. Kunoku, it is so cold. Winter yazouya kunyika ya Queen Elizabeth. So I wanted to really just talk about the USA elections and how people have found them. I entitled this USA election outcome, How Was It For You? Not in a way, but you know what, as Zimbabweans, it can be quite a useful distraction to look at issues that concern other countries while we are trying to work on our own issues, which are ongoing. You and I know that. All right, so just wait for a few people to come on, or maybe just one thumbs up so that I know that you can hear me. Because I know a lot of people, they tend to watch these videos, especially the ones that I do in the evening, overnight and the next day. So I just wanted to put down a few notes and just just comment. It might amount to something or it might amount to nothing, but it's an opinion nonetheless. So if you can hear me, just put a thumbs across or just give me a hint and then I can continue. I remember one time I made a whole video and it was it was a real disaster because nobody could hear me. So I think I'm going to make a start. I wanted to just ask for people to help me to congratulate the Americans on the vote of the 11th, the 9th of November 2016. It's the 45th president to date, and so it is their president-elect. And I was rather impressed because their system is very well organized, it's very well funded, their equipment is second to none. So they've got some systems and technologies that make the rest of us totally green with envy. And then when you're talking about green, how far now with those people who said that they're going to tear their green cards if Donald Trump wins? Now we are talking. Thank you for the confirmation that you can hear. So there are some people who threaten to leave America if Donald Trump wins. So I wonder if they are going to see this through, or it was just kungotaura kufarisa, or being upset. But I know that this election result has come about in a way that a lot of people didn't expect. Inina, I wasn't really rooting for anybody in particular, but because it was a little bit of a reality show, so I didn't think they were very serious. So let's just start with where I got triggered off to have this conversation. I was having this terrible headache. Right, so democracy, it's a system of government by the whole population for all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives, a system of parliamentary democracy. Democracy is one of the biggest exports of the West. They've been shoving it down the throats of other nations to make sure that we have democratic processes and so on, and in democratic elections. But lo and behold, they've had an election in the US of A. And then we've got people that have spilled into the streets. They're not happy with the outcome. So it got me asking, Kuti, so what's the point of having elections if people can turn around and say, oh, this is not what we wanted? I mean, I really do sympathize with those people that were rooting for Hillary Clinton because she won the popular vote. So I guess she felt, a sense of entitlement. Kuti, I'm very popular, people like me. But in America, they've got their own little system. And I'll just touch on this a little bit because, some people are going to Buddha Tsinga Zemuru. But she won the popular vote. That counts for nothing. Now, America, Vanima states are. So what it is if all the people in California vote and say yes to Hillary, and the other states didn't, ango wina mu California chete saka ndiyo yo chete ya vote ya achawana iyoyo for that particular area. So Donald Trump yake win yanga is spread evenly across the United States. Yeah, Hillary yanga a little bit sporadic. The map I wish I could show you is a very interesting one. So on a technicality, Maiyo vakundwa spectacularly, and it hurts. And I really feel for her. So regardless of how decisively someone wins the elections, if the spread is not even, waja unotsika banana. And that's what happened to Hillary Clinton. And unfortunately for her, and because of her age, I think this is the last chance that she will get to do it, to run for the presidential nominee. Saka, what I really wanted to talk about in terms of the Americans is that there are issues about Donald Trump and his person. His wife was one of those women I Chitorwa my pictures and so on. But the fact that so many people voted to say Adna Basane, don't mind that he was like this, they enabled him to really grab the election results and win. It really makes you start thinking about other places where democracy is taking place. So the Americans should really respect the fact that their peers have voted in this way. Trump is a projection of their own society. They can't be pointing to somebody else and saying, "Oh, we don't like Trump and we can't have him," because significant number of people voted for him. I liked the fact that Hillary Clinton conceded. Yes, she was delayed to come and give her speech to say, yes, Donald Trump has trumped me, but she did it graciously. And I liked when I got around to listening to Donald Trump's acceptance speech, where he says, "I shall be a president for everyone." I wish in my own country we would have someone saying, "I am going to be a president for everyone." So what does this mean for Mazimba? I'm always trying to bring it home. Yeah. One of the issues that we as Zimbabweans need to be thinking about now is what's going to happen with Trump in power. I know I put up a little post the other day, that was just a joke, but surprisingly that thing it trend a big time, where taanga achiti tapinda todakuona kuti ndianaro kuti the bond not going to be equal to 1-to-1 ne US dollar. It was just a laugh. But Zimbabwe and the US have unfinished business. You guys have heard of ZIDERA, haven't you? The Zimbabwe Democracy Economic Recovery Act of 2001. Kana uchida kundidena. Kana uchida kundidena jeje. Taura nezvezidera. This was an act which was brought into being in 2001 under the Bush administration. Clinton, she was a senator, and her husband also was part of that decision-making process. And basically, it was supposed to, I would say it was supposed to, because Inini personally, I haven't seen what it has done. We are now in 2016, 15 years on. What has ZIDERA achieved? ZIDERA, it was passed by a 91% margin of the Congress voting in favor of the bill. So that amounted really to 396 votes, which is phenomenal. So that they were saying, I put in quotes now, support the people of Zimbabwe in their struggle to effect peaceful democratic change, achieve broad-based and equitable economic growth, and restore the rule of law. This policy was supported by certain findings of the US Congress. One, the government of Zimbabwe was unable to participate programs created by the International Bank of Reconstruction and Development and the International Monetary Fund. You keep hearing people saying IMF, recently, just this summer, Genga went to America to try and get a loan. These are some of the things that are tied into that particular law. Why am I talking about it? It's because Donald Trump says they want to engage and work with all the countries that want to work with America. So I think it's an opportunity for Zimbabwe and Zimbabweans to start looking at what are the things that we could possibly do. And secondly, the IMF suspended support under the standby arrangements in September 1999. And then they go into a little bit of waffle about that. So Anna Morgan Tangirai of the MDC were pro sanctions. When you hear people saying sanctions, this is part of it. So what have we gained and what have we lost? Has it been worth it? Are we better off? I think it would be an opportunity for us as Zimbabweans to really start thinking about this democracy thing with clarity. There's no point us being as educated as we are when we cannot deal with my technicalities that are going to allow us to advance. I know I'm not really a politician, but I just think it's a missed opportunity. 15 years of stagnation because of my sanctions, because democratic processes are not being observed. Anything is achievable as long as there is a will. And Nafarai Hai Tete Maswera say, do you think Trump will do what he says when he was campaigning, or is just politics? How is America's politics affect the world? Educate me there a little bit. I mean, the first thing I need to say, Farai, is I need to have a disclaimer. I'm not an authority in politics, but my own, view is that Trump is a fighter, and he seems to bounce back from all manner of adversity. Have you seen how many times he's been bankrupt? But he keeps coming back, and he's still a billionaire. You know what I mean? His methods might not be conventional, they might not be approved, but he's also got that extra thing, which is why a lot of people are in the streets now, which is that he's got that white supremacy attitude about that, and he is throbbing with testosterone. He's a man on a mission, out to prove something, and I think because people don't expect him to do it, he probably will. The main thing about Trump that I've observed is that he contradicts himself. One day he's saying one thing, and then the next day he's contradicting himself, saying, I didn't say it. So I don't know. The way that he's been speaking in the last day or so has been a little bit more sober and a little bit more tempered. I don't know whether he's getting more counseling or he's really coming to his own, realizing it in Dawina and taking this opportunity seriously. But, the majority of the Americans went out, they voted, and he is now going to be their president. So he really owes them delivery on some level. There's this clip, I'm going to try and find it, where he's talking about the things that he wants to achieve in the first 100 days of being in power. And on that list, I was happy to see corruption. You see, it's an admission that panel corruption in their country, and it's nice to see that, and for him to prioritize that for his nation. Whether or not he's going to deliver is something else. I hope so, because no matter what we think of an individual, if they've been given an assignment by their people, their nation is been voted in, you want them to succeed, because we live in a global village. There are lots of Zimbabweans as well that are living in America. You wonder, Kuti, how will their lives turn out? Somebody was stating a joke in rather bad taste, I think, that in the states that Hillary Clinton lost, it's because Zimbabweans didn't vote. Because they want Trump to come in because of that joke, that running joke on the internet, where he says he's going to deal with the Zimbabwean, he calls it Zimbabwean dictator and the Ugandan one. So you can look at these things the way that you want to, but at the end of the day, we are where we are. I just thought I would mention this because you know what, a lot of people have been not understanding the Zimbabwe situation when people say, oh, we don't want the results of the elections, but people went out and vote. You know what? The way that I think might not necessarily be the way that Gogo thinks in the rural areas. So if they go out en masse, but voted the candidate that whom you don't want, and then that is the results of the election, we have to really get to a point of understanding and accepting kuti vote yavo counts. I know in Zimbabwe we've still got issues that are outstanding to do with the electoral reforms and so on, the lack thereof. But if we get to that stage, we need to be respecting whichever political party wins once we've got a true and fair and equitable democracy. So, how are we doing? Auntie Naroda, the thing with billionaires like Trump is that they rarely achieve that wealth without the help of others. But the concern is that he runs the country like a business, which you cannot, let's see, like a business which you can't. The electorate are not employees. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Rhoda. And that's where some of his arrogance is really spouting through. And that's where he's going to have a reality check. Because in a business, especially when you own the business, you can hire and fire at will. And people must and have to adhere to whatever you say. Whereas, he's going to be responsible to his electorates. The houses America, which regulate. Which I think they should really come into being, and that's where we're going to see Kuti, can he really hold his temper? Their own sophisticated way of doing things in America. But my thing, which I've said before, which I must say now, is I anticipate there might be an assassination. Yes, I said it. The amount of discontent that is out there, you just wonder, with America and their gun laws and so on, somebody might act on this. I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to preempt anything or claim to be prophetic or anything like this, but the level of disquiet is quite high. And in a habit, I like Trump. And this is the thing and the dilemma, that even if I was not impressed by Trump and his personal conduct, there are some of my friends who were rooting for him. Samakorokoto Hebet, I guess you're happy with the outcome. Did you see that there were the lot of evangelical churches praying for Trump before the election and the election results that came out? And these are the mega churches. I won't mention any of the pastors. You troll the internet and see it for yourself. The rhetoric that he managed to really spout out appealed to a lot of people. And one of the things that I've personally learned and will take away from this is that never underestimate the little people. Because my southern states, though the less well-to-do states, where the people speak a little bit coarse, they are not as polished, they are not as articulate or, high-flying. I'm not saying all of them. But those are the states where people look down on people. And those are the ones where he really shone through. And they were very forgiving towards his, how can I say, his shortcomings. So even when people go into democratic processes, we can't afford to be elitist about this. You got a lot of academics and a doctor, what, and what in our political playing field. That amounts to nothing. What people want is delivery. And this guy has kind of put out there his intentions, and they resonate well with some people. Therefore, on that basis, I hope for the sake of the world that Trump is going to indeed be a president for all Americans. And I certainly hope that those that are protesting are not going to dismantle things. After all, he's not even that only comes into being in January. So it's a little bit mischievous that if people didn't bother to go out or turn out and vote or influence the vote, they then turn around and say, we don't want this. That's what happened as well with Brexit. A lot of people then turned around and say, oh, that's not the result we wanted, let's do a do-over. Democracy, you have to stick to the definition, so that if it's democratic, once the results are out, they are out good and proper. I was rather impressed by, what's his name? Obama's speeches, to say that, this is the election, this is what a democracy looks like. His priority was to manage the transition of power. And I wish we had that in Zimbabwe too. They don't delay to bring out results. Nasi, they were having tea. Nasi Trump angatori ku White House. And that's how quickly things move in other democracies. So, I don't know if anybody else has got any comments, but I know that I upset a few of my friends by making a comment on my wall that was referring to Morgan Tangirai. Let me revisit this, because I want you to really, to understand and why. And I'm not here really to be popular. I'm here to just do what I do and share, and I equally learn from other people. So I put one of the posts on my page. I said, when the boot is on the other foot, so I guess democracy makes sense and looks easy when people get absolutely what they want. These protests are incredibly emotive but unfair to those that voted yes for Trump. I guess that includes Herbert. After the Brexit vote, the UK many wanted a do-over. What is the point of voting if the outcome is going to be challenged when all due processes have been followed? I understand the sadness of those that lost and they're hurt, but democracy is like that. Winner takes it all. So Trump is trumped them, and he's taken that. So the comment that I made was really saluting Hillary Clinton after her concession speech. I said, I salute and bow to her because she bows out graciously. I know that there's been some tittle-tattle after that, but her acceptance speech, her concession speech was good, and it was on point. And I made reference to Morgan Tsvangirai and other leaders of the opposition parties in Zimbabwe, that they should take note. Because part of the reason why we're in this quagmire is that when we keep having elections which are not giving the result that people want, and then we introduced the new constitution in 2013, everybody was involved, and there were consultations in Zimbabwe under the NGOs to ratify and agree to we are now in 2016, going into 2017. Shortly we'll be in 2018, and that constitution is not alive yet. The electoral reforms are not there yet. We come back to Zidera. Zidera will remain there until those things get fixed. And when we had those elections, the opposition said, it was a stolen election. Why on earth did we ever go to the elections if those things were not in place? I mean, it's not rocket science. People could have just said, we are not going, and then that's done. So now we've had NERA and the demonstrations that are going on. I think that citizens have taken over what politicians should have been doing and could have been doing. But we're going to go into another election, and if those things are not fixed, are we going to have, honestly, another scenario where people are going to be lamenting this is not the result? People will not concede and say, I watch visai ma sanctions and or restrictions. We want to re-engage with the international community. It is slowing us down. It's leaving us behind. It just means that there's a delay to people's aspirations being reached. So I wish there would be a level of maturity that will inspire, especially those friends of mine who are on this thread, who are politicians. Talk to your people. I think there's always an opportunity to start having the conversations to bridge our differences so that we can have Zimbabwe's interests at heart. Things are not going to look the way that we want them to look, but honestly, we are wasting time. 2001, Zidera ichiripo, Clinton anga aripo payaka into being. So in a way, I was like, do my right. That was me. I mean, you might have different views. But I think if America is saying that they want to re-engage with all those parties who are willing to engage, it's a real opportunity for Zimbabwe and Zimbabweans. And those people who are advocates for Zidera and all the other restrictions need to really start undoing that harness, because Zimbabwe will always be behind Kanatisina, these sort of things. And also now start working in parliament to make sure the laws start aligning to the constitution, so that at the next elections is really right. Let me just check if there's any more comments here. I think I've said my piece. So some people were kind of very dismissive of what I said on that point here. Morgan Tsvangirai and the opposition. To be honest with you, until we start being honest with ourselves and taking responsibility and accepting that nobody is coming to save us, but we are going to do it ourselves, and that if the majority voters are in the rural areas and they want this particular person, once the electoral reforms are done and the results come out, we have to respect it. And then those people need to work harder so that they are not beaten on any technicalities in the future. I don't have a right to ask, but I think that's a mature way of being. And Sevanu Vari, very educated, among the most educated in Africa, let us be able to comprehend and move with the times. Hans Naroda is true. When all is done, he won according to the system, that is, not the popular vote. So let's just see what he and his bunch can do. I think they're going to be in for either a spectacular surprise where he might deliver and outshine our greatest expectations in terms of delivery for Americans, because he's got an agenda to undo and outshine what Obama's done. So that white supremacy thing comes in, and he's outwardly racist. So I think the other side would be a total and absolute disaster. And those people that are on the streets, I think there's a huge element of them being afraid that they've opened a Pandora box. Because, you've been having people being shot indiscriminately. Black Lives Matter. All Lives Matter. Some lynchings. KKK has endorsed Trump. So there's a lot of uncertainty. And you've seen how the right wing in Europe have been quick to congratulate him. So, Rhoda, I don't know. I really don't know where it's going. But if you're looking on a technicality, he won. And that's the system that they use in America. Vincent says Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. The majority of Americans preferred Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump, period. Fact, the majority of Americans wanted Hillary, not Trump. Let me just try and extend this. Okay. Vanity has got no room here. Let's see. Okay, the only reason he's president is because of an arcane. It's a bit much. I hope I've pronounced that well. Insane 18th century idea called the Electoral College. Yes, I read about that. Until they change that, they will continue to have presidents they didn't elect and didn't want. You live in a country where a majority of its citizens have said they believe there's climate change. They believe women should be paid the same as men. They want a debt-free college education. They don't want us invading countries. They want a raise in the minimum wage. Yeah, and they want a single payer, true universal health care system. None of that has changed. Americans live in a country where the majority agree with the liberal position. They just lack the liberal leadership to make that happen. Yes, you've really spelled it out. And you see, this is the point, Vincent, that you're making there, that it is on a technicality that Hillary's lost. So next time they need to do their homework, because they'll continue to lose on that technicality. And in Zimbabwe as well, if people don't do their homework, they will continue to lose on the technicality. But such as it is, they went to the polls, they went through it. It is not illegal for right-wing politicians or right-wing political parties to exercise their rights as he is doing. And so that's the other side of it. Kuti, freedom of speech, freedom of association, and so on, has been embraced, and they are doing it to the full. What Mazimba need to really also think about is, should things change such that Americans themselves, African Americans, are packing their bags and coming to Africa, what is it going to be like for you guys? What is it going to be like for us guys? Because it's in often the diaspora. So what does it mean? What is it going to mean for our children? That is the thing, that when people are protesting, I don't think they are protesting with the right tone. They need to separate the issues. The elections were done, and that was the result. The bigotry and the isms and stuff still remain. But that's the American problem. They voted this guy in knowing fully well what he is like. You see, that's a technicality. And then Rhoda says, I think so. I'm hoping for a wonderful surprise. It's not impossible. It will certainly surprise those who voted for him based on hatred and racism. As for our politics, let me just try and open this up. Okay. As for our politics, we have to sort ourselves out before even expecting to be taken seriously, even by the likes of Trump. Yeah, and this is the thing. And you see, Zimbabweans, we are so educated and working so hard, and we are coveted. Tinochivwa ne other countries. It is to America's greatest advantage, that and Britain's advantage, and all other neighbors, that Zimbabweans are discontented and spilled through their borders, because they are getting really good quality workforce that they never had to pay for. Because a lot of people, got their education in Zimbabwe, and then they come here, they hone in their skills and their knowledge and extend. But the main investment was done in Zimbabwe, where we had free education. You know what I mean? So until we start believing in ourselves, until we start having clarity about what exactly are the technical things that are causing us to be left behind, and how can we start being part of the solution and not part of the problem, I think we need to get to a point where we stop this rhetoric of this party and that party and that party, and just act in the interest of Zimbabwe. This is the thing that these guys, the day after, all the leaders, Hillary Clinton, Obama, Trump, are saying, let us work together in the interest of America. Let's get to a point where we are working for the interest of Zimbabwe, working for the interest of Africa, working for the interest of humanity. So I want Maita Basa. How were the elections for me? They were bittersweet, and they will remain bittersweet. I'm not sure what the next few months and years are going to bring. And I think I'm going to just play it by ear and watch. But in terms of democratic process, well done to them. They've done it. Kwasara isusu in 2018. So have a good day. Tara. I hope bata some issues that will really help. And maybe there'll be a continuation. Have a good evening. Take my son out. He wants to eat out because he doesn't want to eat what I'm cooking. He's not having any of that. So I'm out of here. Roda's parting comment is, sadly, politicians all over the world no longer strive to serve. No, that's true. But I hope you observed how quick Putin was to congratulate Donald Trump. So there's going to be a lot of, new territory. We're coming out of our comfort zone. Because can you imagine America and the US of A working together? And I think Putin, Mufeswana Robert, and all this testosterone throbbing, my way, it's going to be rather exciting. So, keep a watch out. Keep thinking about stuff, analyzing, sharing. If you're not out there, kandai ku inbox. Kana kungodenda tinotaura nezvazvo. Take care. Salute.